Steven, we are ready to roll. Everybody knows who you are, but so we will just get this rolling. What got you into Smash? I don't think I've ever. Yes, I kind of know this answer, but tell the people what got you into Smash.
Yeah, so I competed in a lot of things pretty much from a early age. First it was like baseball, then it was chess, and then I got into competitive Pokemon, first the card game and then the video game. And in high school, that led me to a games club where I was trying to find other people who played the video game for Pokemon, and I found a whole bunch of people who played Smash instead. I was like, hey, I played that game as a kid. I like Smash. I want people who play video games as friends, so I'll start playing Smash with them. And in the morning before high school, every single day, we would play like Smash on our DSs, because that's what you could do in Smash 4 before class. And because I'm the way that I am, I take everything super seriously. I'm trying to like get good. I have to beat everybody else. And so I started going to tournaments with them. One of them really wanted to go to tournaments, and the same kind of story happened. It was like, wow, there's all these people that are better than me, and that's not okay. I can't deal with that. And so I got very, very serious about getting better than everyone else at the local scene. So
Love it.
it's a slow entry. Just kind of started with meeting a whole bunch of high school friends, and going to tournaments with them is like a fun thing.
And look where you are now.
It's got me pretty far.
I love it. What is your main source of income, if you are comfortable sharing that?
At the moment, the main source of income is actually Smash tournaments. Probably like just winning locals. Every now and then, like winning a bigger event or placing highly at bigger regional or something like that. That's probably my main source of income right now. It's not a sustainable amount to be living like off rent or anything like that. That's not the way. I had a whole bunch of money saved up. That's why I'm able to currently like live this lifestyle. But even that's gonna like change shortly. If you're going to try and make it in Smash without that kind of like, if you're gonna try and make it in Smash, don't try to do it with locals. You want to try to do it by building up a stream and like getting a social media platform and getting a sponsor.
Yeah, 100%. The sponsors are big money, and they are happy to just dole that out if you've got the followers and the success, right?
Yep.
Is there a point of like worry or anxiety? I know myself, if I was a great Smash player and I'm making this money, you talked about sustainability. You know, when do you make the decision to, you know, all right, I'm going to work full time, 9 to 5, and then I'm going to do Smash kind of on the side? But that's a lot. That is a packed schedule.
I was very anxious about this time last year, actually, because I was just getting ready to graduate from college, and so like I have my degree now, and I don't know what to do. Should I get into Smash? I was just about to be sponsored by you guys. It's like, well, I have like this real opportunity that I'll probably never get to go to majors and try to make the most of like my career in Smash right now, or I can just go and get a full-time job and like keep Smash as like an on the side thing, because that's what I've been doing. I've been having it. I wasn't on the side to a full-time job. It was on the side to a part-time job at school, which is about the same thing, I think. Mm-hmm. And so I could like keep it that way, or I could like really take Smash super seriously and go into it like this. And that's a really, really stressful choice. It was, I was getting extremely stressed out at tournaments around that time. I got really, really nervous about. I always like felt like I had to succeed, and every time I didn't, it was like validation that I just like shouldn't be doing this, and I need to go and get a full-time job or something. There's some pretty crazy stories that aren't mine, but I know like famous players like Me2 King would literally go to locals like every single day. They'd be like driving like hours across like the country and living out of their car because Me2 King needed to win locals to eat that day. Like that was how he did it, and I absolutely don't recommend that lifestyle. But some people like go about it that way. It really is kind of a how passionate are you about this game, and there's finance is all money. I'm a finance major. It's all money. It's all numbers, and you got to make sure that you have the numbers backing up that like can support you, at least very least sustaining and not like draining yourself. And if you're gonna be draining yourself, make sure you have a large like pool of money and you know what time frame it'll last you for. Plan this stuff out. Money is like, it's just math, and you can figure out how long you can last if you're losing money out of like a pool, or if you're like maintaining or even gaining money from it. Try to figure out ways to do that so that you can sustain yourself.
I love that. On that note, gosh, and we can talk about this stuff forever. What ways can you make income from Smash? Obviously, sponsors, obviously tournaments, right? I would assume those are like the two probably main ones, right?
Yeah, so it kind of varies depending on like what you have access to. So if you have a scene, like Ohio's actually pretty good about this. I think Ohio is probably, makes like sounds Ohio bad, like makes Ohio sound bad, which I don't think they are, but I think like Ohio's got one of the bigger scenes for one of like the less competitive ones. Not to say that each of like the scene, I think Ohio as a whole is a very good scene. Yeah. But like you look at a local in like Philadelphia or New York or something like that. I was just in Philadelphia, and the people I had to beat to like get second place at that Philadelphia local would have won me most Ohio monthlies.
Wow.
And yeah, like that's pretty like ridiculous. And it's like less that I don't think like Ohio as a whole, if you condensed all of Ohio into one city like Philadelphia or something like that, I think it's like a very, very, very competitive, if not better. But because like Ohio is so spread apart and they have so many locals, there's a lot of ways that you can like win money from locals at Ohio events. And there's a lot of states where that's like probably possible, like scenes that are like actually like pretty big for how not densely competitive they are. But that's like if you're going to go the route of like locals, then you can maybe do it in a scene like that. If you're living somewhere like Florida, like where like CFL or something like those locals, or you're living in New York, or you're living in like Georgia locals like Atlanta or something like that, those are some incredibly stacked locals that you just cannot rely on reliably winning for any kind of consistent source of income. Yeah. And I imagine the cost of living in this place is also a lot higher than it would be in somewhere like Columbus or Cincinnati or something like that. And then so the real way you're gonna do it, that's like locals is like, it sounds like it's big money, but it really isn't, and it's probably not gonna work out in that way. The real way you got to do it is you got to stream a whole bunch. Get your money from Twitch, build a Twitch community, go the route that like Aaron did. About to say someone who got canceled, but Aaron like comes to mind, and get like a big following of a whole bunch of people who want to support you, who are going to donate to your stream. They're going to subscribe. And then having a big channel like that on Twitch not only means that you are going to get significantly more consistent income, it also means that you're going to get way more attention to like better sponsors or something like that. And sponsors can certainly help you reduce your expenses to travel, which is a huge part. Like reduced expenses is going to make it possible to like actually go positive from tournaments. Which I think is a lot of things. Something else that people don't realize, like, oh wow, I drove like 2 hours to win $40 from a tournament, and that's like just the gas money, and like probably doesn't even cover the amount of food that you spent. And so like getting sponsored, having a big following, social media following, and from my understanding is significantly more important than like tournament placings when it comes to getting sponsored as well. It makes being marketable is so much more than being like important than being good. And like that's the way you turn this game into money. You make yourself marketable, and you create consistent avenues of stream that you can get while playing the game that doesn't involve tournaments. Tournaments are just too inconsistent. Some days you're just going to be having a bad day. Sometimes someone's going to be having a really good day that's not you. So like there's just no way to reliably say that like I'm just going to win this amount of tournaments and that way I can pay rent. That's a horrible decision. Then it adds a whole bunch of stress to you when you're playing in these tournaments. Like I can only imagine what YouTube King's thinking at every single local. Like, do I like eat something healthy today, or do I get McDonald's again or something like that? It depends on if I get first or second at this local, like that's that sounds awful, and I could never ever recommend that to anybody.
I agree. Well, and that pretty much answered our last question. Your advice for people who are struggling financially but want to make it in this world, and then also just in more so making it in Smash. I think you answered all of that. Like you can't rely on this as a main source of income, at least when you're first starting out. When you get great and you're good and hopefully you are just blowing up the world with how wonderful you are, that's awesome. But that's not the reality for most people.
I will say, I think I can't speak for other esports necessarily, so if you're watching this and you don't play Smash but you play another video game, it
Good
might
point.
be a little different. Smash is unique in that it's extremely big esport that has almost no developer support. There is very little support from Nintendo, and usually it's actually the opposite of support. Usually they're like kind of competing our tournaments.
Yeah.
And because of that, the biggest like tournaments like majors and stuff like that have like at most 10k pop buzz, which like sounds like a lot, but like when you look at like dev supported games like Fortnite or Overwatch or something, they're playing for like hundreds of thousands if not millions of dollars. And that like literally like $1 million is probably the cumulative total of like every single Smash event in a year, locals included, and like everything put into one prize spot. The amount of money that's in other games of similar sizes is so much larger that it's possible that like a lot of this doesn't apply in the exact same way if you're not playing Smash. But Smash is just a game that doesn't have that kind of money to do this.
So my name is Kim Jones. I'm also known in the gaming community as Momza. I've been in the gaming community since 2017. In the beginning, I just started out taking my son Scoops, who happens to play Smash Brothers, to tournaments. And somehow that sucked me right in. The very first major tournament I went to, I walked around with my mouth, I think, halfway dragging on the ground the entire weekend. We went to the big house in Detroit, and I remember leaving that weekend going, I'm really glad I never told my kids you can't make money playing video games, because I would have been made a liar. And that just kind of slowly but surely started sucking me in, because I took them to more tournaments. I started to attend some of their tournaments here in Cincinnati locally at Arcade Legacy, or I'd go out to Miami University and attend their tournaments. And yeah, so it kind of got me hook, line, and sinker with one tournament.
What was, I mean, I'm sure there were so many elements, but what was it that made you, that your jaw was dropping and your eyes were wide open and you were just so excited to be there?
I mean, to walk into the convention center in Detroit and to see like hundreds, like I think that year Melee had like 1,000 entrants in it. And just that people had traveled from all over the United States. Some people had traveled internationally from Japan, and just to look around and see all these people coming together for basically one thing and one thing only, and that was to play Super Smash Brothers Melee. And it was actually Super Smash 4 when I went to that big house. And it just, I had no idea anything like that existed. I mean, I knew that there were tournaments, but I had no idea that they could be at that scale, So that's why I was a little dumbfounded by it when I first saw it.
Absolutely. The next question Alex had was, what is your main source of income? And then we can go into that from what ways can you make income TOing?
Well, my main source of income is I work a day job like just about every other person that is a TO in the scene. So that's my main source of income, is just my day job. The TOing realistically is, and I don't think anybody would disagree, it's a passion, because there's not a lot of reward for being a TO. You just have to, you kind of have to love it. You have to love your community and understand that, it can sometimes be a thankless job. But in the end, it's the community that really keeps me around. I like the fact that, young adults can come in and, attend one of my weeklies and have a good time and see their friends and see the sportsmanship and the camaraderie that goes along with it. The downside to TOing is there's really no money to be made in it. I mean, most of your
And sword
local,
captain.
you know, at your grassroots local level, like my organization, Dragon Squad Esports, they're just, you operate at a loss, basically. I mean, even when we ran SOS 8 this year, that operated at a loss. I mean, very thankful that, Cincinnati Fear came in and was our primary sponsor. I was very excited for that and just have the opportunity to work a little more closely with Cincinnati Fear. But again, that was for the prize pot. We don't keep any of we don't keep any of that money. The only time we get our rate on return is because of the venue fees. That's our way that we pay ourselves back for the big tournament, and you basically hold on to it and you start planning for, SOS 9. So it is unfortunate that a lot of TOs, especially at the grassroots organization level like mine, we basically operate at a loss. And like I said, you're right, that's where the passion comes in, and that's what keeps you going. I mean, and the thing is it's not that somebody else can't come in and take it over. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think it would ever go away in our, Cincinnati area. I mean, somebody, would always be willing to step up and be a TO. But you don't see a lot of them doing it because a lot of these players see what us TOs go through and they're like, I don't know if I want to deal with that or not.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, last but not least question, your advice, even though you've shared a lot of great advice already, your advice to someone who wants to TO and, all right, you're not going to make $1 million gazillion. You got to have that passion. What else?
Honestly, you just have to know that you're going to be giving of your time for very little reward, but and the little reward is because you're not making $1 million a year, right? Being a TO. But the biggest reward that you can get from TOing is just to watch the players and see how they interact with each other and the good time that they're having, and knowing that, there is a safe space for people to come in and hang out and, play a game that they all have an interest in. I think that's one of my favorite things, along with, making sure, a lot of people in the gaming community are, in that marginalized LGBTQ plus community. And it is extremely, extremely important for me that there is always a welcoming environment for them and for them to feel safe and, know that they're, not going to be disparaged, if you attend any of my events. So my biggest advice is if you want to get into TOing, just make sure you have a passion for it. Because again, even though you don't get monetarily rewarded, there are so many other ways to find it to be such a rewarding thing to do for the community.
I love that. And I love how you tied that into everybody deserves to have that feeling of community and to know that you're welcome somewhere, especially if you're new into something and kind of feeling the waters out and then going, gosh, I'm going to be accepted. Am I part of that's really wonderful.
Thank you.
Of course. And I also meant to ask, when you were talking about going to these tournaments years and years ago and your jaw was, on the floor and your eyes were wide open, what was the next first big step after going to these and realizing, oh wait, I kind of like this. I want to try this on the side and see where it goes.
It's funny you say that, Lauren, because it was a couple of big houses and a few other ones in between that I went to and I had taken my son's scoops to. And I think it was around the big house 8 or 9, I went, you know what? I can do this. It's this can't be that hard, right? Well, I mean, although I don't run anything the size of the big house, even though, it's a dream of mine to be able to, bring something like that to Cincinnati. I don't know. I just had this crazy thought that it's you know what? I can do this. I know I can do this. And so I just started taking those steps, to understand, more behind the scenes of, how a TO operates, how do the brackets operate. And, and then decided, the year COVID hit, that I was going to create Dragon Squad. And then I learned how to do everything online.
Didn't we all? I love it.
But that was a great learning experience, just doing the TOing online even. It gave me a lot of experience for when we came back to in real life. I was ready pretty much just to hit the ground running.
I love it. Kim, thank you so much. Is there anything else that we forgot in our brief conversation here that you wanted to mention?
I don't think so. Just, thank you very much for reaching out, Lauren. I love everything that Cincy Fear does. I think you guys are great for the Cincinnati area and for the gaming community. And keep on doing what you guys are doing, and hopefully Dragon Squad and Fear can work again in the future together. It'd be awesome.
I would love that. Thank you, and right back at ya.
Thanks.
Alex, thank you so much for joining us. We've got a few guests with us this week, and we love that. And I've always kind of wondered about this because I did not come from a gaming background. I mean, I played, Nintendo and Mario Brothers and all that fun stuff with my brothers back in the 80s and 90s. But obviously it's evolved so much. And now this is this massive industry where you can make a ton of money. And I love that, you've got this background because this is something that I've always wondered. So we're going to get into content creation and gaming and all of that good stuff. But first, I want you just to introduce yourself.
Okay.
Who you are, where you live, how old you are, all that good stuff.
Hi, I'm Alex Sanders. I go by EYRIE. It's EYRIE on YouTube and Twitch. And I'm 22 years old. I live in Northeastern Ohio. And I like playing video games. Just like most people who are probably watching this video right now, I like it. I make money doing it, and I can tell you how. It's really easy. All you gotta do is have a personality. That's the easiest part about it. If you have a personality,
easy, I know.
You can get through it. But I've been making content for a long time. About 2 years seriously. And when I was a kid, I used to set the microwave timer on my microwave to be 10 minutes because that's how long YouTube videos used to have to be. And I would just go commentate my own videos on my iPod. It was fun. Never got to YouTube, and I hope nobody sees those. I hope that iPod is gone. I hope it's gone forever. I don't want anyone to see that stuff.
I love it. Well, I mean, that's your beginnings. That's where you got to start. And it's a lot of work. So we're going to get into more of that. But right now, what is your main source of income? Is it content creation?
Unfortunately, it's not. I do make some money doing content creation. Enough not to pay the bills, but enough to keep me fed, and it's not enough to pay for my house. I'll say that, but it keeps me fed, and it gets me luxuries as well. But my main source of income is I actually run at Chuck E. Cheese, Pizza Time Entertainment, and it goes hand in hand with the content creation. I'm an entertainer. I love to make people happy, so. I've always worked there because the easiest group of people to make happy are kids, especially when you're giving them games and pizza and all that stuff. You never see frowns. So that's why I love that job.
I love it. And if you do see a frown, it's going to go away pretty quickly.
Oh yeah. Some free tickets or something like that. We'll get that frown going real quick.
Love it. So, as an additional source of income, you have content creation. How did you get, I know you were talking about your beginnings and your start in all of this. From there, how did it get to the point where you realized, hey, I could make money off of this, and then you were actually making some income off of that?
So I owe a lot to the Smash community because that's where I started streaming. Was streaming during COVID's quarantine, doing Wi-Fi tournaments and open arenas and stuff like that. And then I kind of transitioned it to being more about Pokemon and Minecraft because I feel like those are two bigger games right now than Smash when it comes to single player, non-competitive. Because I'll be honest, I'm the worst Smash player in my house. Then again, 2 top 3 players in the whole state is pretty hard to compete with that. But I'm nowhere near as good as they are. So I like to just take it more of the. I've always been more of the entertainer kind of aspect of it. So I've always let my personality shine, and I think that's what really got me my start. Because you see a lot of these Smash streamers that'll be just good at the game and they mute their microphone, they don't talk. I kind of let my personality shine, over exaggerating, popping off on things. So it's all comes to personality. Yeah.
I love that. For someone with who wants to get into this and who may not be gifted with, the gift of gab, as we like to say, and that personality and all of that, what's your advice to them?
Just start, and you'll learn YouTube or Twitch or whatever. You'll get instant feedback if somebody likes something that you do or they don't like something that you do. And you got to make sure that if somebody doesn't like what you do, you don't say, oh, that's it, I'm done. No, they didn't like what I did. Figure out what they want and then change it for the better. If you have a YouTube video that gives you a 10 out of 10, which means it's your worst video you've ever uploaded, make the next one a 9 out of 10, the next one 8 out of 10, until you get to the best video you've uploaded.
I love that.
The whole thing is to stay at it.
So a little more into like making income from content creation. I mean, my extent of knowledge of this is, you get really good at it, like we see on TikTok and all of this and YouTube, and then you start getting all of these followers, and obviously companies and businesses and industries recognize, and they're like, hey, we want our name on that because that person is doing some great work, and it's probably cheap-ish for them to hire and have you do a post or two a week. But is there more to it? Are there other ways to go around it? Can you work with multiple companies? How does all that work?
Yeah, so there's always chances to get sponsorships from different companies. Typically, the way you do it is if you get a sponsor, it's a singular sponsor, a video or a stream. It's really messy to be like, oh, this video is sponsored by this person, and this person. The only other way to do that is like just doing like I don't want to say free advertisement, but like having advertisements in your videos, like a sponsor banner on your streams for just people that work with you or work for you, maybe a graphics company that you work with, or an audio company you work with that gives you music for your streams and stuff like that. Just posting them, and then they give you music or graphics, you give them recognition, then people go buy that stuff and all that stuff. And then there's always money involved with it. If you're selling a product, they typically will give you money for it.
I love that. And last but not least, and we can just add to this as much as you want, what advice do you have for content creators? Because it's a really it's a special thing, that creating something and having that art that you're proud of, or whatever that art may be, right? And it's a hard job at times. It's emotionally and physically taxing. And for those that might not be making enough out of it, enough, monetarily, and focusing on this as their sole focus of income, what's your advice to them if they're not making a lot of money on this? Do you just get out? You give up?
Find something that will make you the money that gives you enough free time to do what you love. My job is very flexible. I get to work mornings, and I get to come home and make content. On days I don't work mornings, I get to wake up early and make content, and treat it like a grind, because it is a grind, And of course, the more passionate you are about it, the more likely you are to grow. If you're just sitting there and you're not putting any efforts into your thumbnails and your titles and your tags and your streams and your ideas, you're not going to go anywhere. So as long as you really put the passion into it and you figure out what people want to watch, and then you go for it, then you'll start making money with it. You'll make money.
I love that. Anything we didn't cover? Anything else? I mean, feel free to add whatever you want.
I don't think, but of course, I will mention there are jobs out there for content creators. For example, I work with, the channel we're on right now, the Cincinnati Fear. I make their videos and they give me some cash, and we're all happy, So
love it.
As long as, there's always opportunities out there to make content for other people as well as making your own content. And, that can help with, that could be a side job while you make your own content. So if you look for jobs out there like that, there's hundreds. I've applied for hundreds of them. I've only gotten one of them, I will say that. But, you can apply for hundreds of them, you get one, and then you're good to go.
I love it. Good stuff. Alex, thank you so much. Where can people find you? Give you the YouTube link and all of that good stuff on your social.
Everything will, of course, be down in the description, but you can find me on Twitch at It's EYRIE with an underscore, and YouTube at It's EYRIE, and Twitter at It's EYRIE.
Beautiful.
Yep.